Happy Halloween, everybody. And yes, this is the same mask as last year. So I just wanted to come on here and say before the video started, I know this video is long as fuck, and it's probably longer than all of my videos combined, and I know that. So I basically did what I did for Christmas with the 25 different Christmas movies, but I did for Halloween. So like anything related to Halloween, horror movies, fucking TV specials, it doesn't really matter. They're all kind of in here. It doesn't really matter. They're listed somewhere. I'll put maybe. But instead of doing 31 different movies, I just decided to do one long movie. Instead of doing 31 different videos, I just decided to do one long video. So we'll see how this works out. If it gets like 7 views and nobody likes it, then I will never do this again. But we'll see. I kind of like the longer videos, so let me know if you like watching the longer videos. I assume no one's going to watch the whole thing, so I'm just going to sum this up. Hope you guys like it. It took me so long to make, and that's kind of it.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
To start off this marathon, we go down to the yeehaw state of Texas with this Tobe Hooper classic. Oh wait, just kidding. We're watching this one. Yes, the requel, released in 2022 straight to Netflix, and I just have to say, what a start. Now, this movie isn't very good, the characters suck, the plot is boring, and the only thing that's kind of good is the kills, and don't even get me started on this dialogue. The best scene of the movie comes in a little bit like towards the end, I guess. I don't know when it really comes. It's after Leatherface starts killing people. So he gets on this bus, and it is also great and terrible at the same time. I'm just going to play the clip.
Hey, Ron, what are you doing? Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
So yeah, that was kind of funny. There are some interesting things going on here that could be good and like any other project, but just don't matter in this because it's not a very good movie. One of the main girls is a school shooter survivor. And that what might be interesting to like a horror movie. You know, got some themes going on here, but it doesn't matter because it really doesn't come up until the end. And even then, it's not that important or interesting. So, I mean, that is a thing. They also bring back the original final girl from the first one. I guess they watched Halloween 2018, and they were like, well, Jamie Lee Curtis comes back, so let's bring back this lady. She's very pointless, too. She has no purpose of being here. She wants to kill Leatherface, or I guess she just wants to, like, know who she is. She has multiple times to shoot him, and just doesn't. So I don't know. That's kind of weird. It's just not very good, and I just suggest to never watch this ever again, which I probably won't. So, Friend Request is a movie that I watched and is also not very good. It's just kind of joyless. Like, the people who made this movie just didn't want to make the movie, but they were like, fuck it, we're making a movie. It's about Facebook, which it came out in 2017, which is like at least 6 years too late. Like, what college kids use Facebook like they do in this movie? There is some research that went into this. I discovered that on the YouTube page whenever I bought this movie, that it wasn't the right poster. It says Unfriended, which is a different horror movie about, like, Skype and shit. So I was either like, oh, this is like a foreign guy who doesn't really know this and just made this movie, and then, like, it went through development hell, and he just, like, released it, and he was like, oh, shit, it just happens to be the same title, or he, like, blatantly ripped it off, which I don't think so. I think it's more the other one, so I did kind of look it up, and it was made in, like, 2014 or whatever, like, this was shot, and it didn't release until 2017, so I assume the development hell went through this, but that doesn't really matter. It's not very good. The movie is still boring. Basically, what happens is that this girl is like a weirdo and she has no friends. So she befriends this popular girl who has all the friends. For some reason, she has so many Facebook friends, which is like, I don't know. Shouldn't you know people? There's no way you know this many people, but fuck it, whatever. So the girl's weird. She kills herself and haunts Facebook, which I have a couple things. There's some shots in here that are pretty interesting. There's some things that are like, oh, that's kind of creepy for a horror movie. But the whole plot is like stupid because it could have been like avoided. I know like if that happens, there's no movie. So, I mean, but if there's things that just happen, like the reason she gets this weird girl gets so upset is because she's like, can I go? Do you want to hang out for your birthday? And the other girl is like, no, we're going to go, I'm hanging out with my boyfriend or whatever. And it's just going to be us two. So they go to this restaurant where her, like, friends are already there. And she's like, oh, you lied to me. But she could have been like, it was a surprise, I didn't know. So, I mean, that's just a thought that could have happened. I don't know. At one point, they go into, like, their computer or whatever to look at the code, and it's just, like, witches symbols, which is kind of funny, but that's literally the only things I kind of remember about this movie, and it was really, really funny, so I guess it has that going for it. No! Wow, 3 stinkers in a row. The open house is really, really bad. It is so bad, in fact, that I used 2 reallys in that last sentence to describe it. There's so many choices in here that don't really make sense to me. The opening scene, Dylan Minnette, who plays Logan, who is the main fucking character, watches his dad die tragically right in front of him, and this is his reaction? That is beautiful, and if that is the best take of his acting, then we're in for a great time. He's like the worst or best thing a part of this movie, because it seems like a 50-year-old man tried to write him, who is supposed to be, an angry teen who just lost their father and has to move way the fuck over there, and, he's a teenager, so he's like fucking amped up, but he's also 25, so I don't know. But it seems like they have never been a teenager or have been around teenagers ever. There's also so many pointless characters in this. Martha, who is this lady, is just there to be weird. She serves no other purpose. It's revealed later in the movie by this like plumber guy that she has dementia. And I'm pretty sure that is only explained because at the end, whenever the killer guy is like chasing Logan in the woods, he hears footsteps, so he hides, and it's just fucking Martha, which I just have to assume it's like the middle of the fucking night. So what the fuck is she doing? I don't know many people with dementia, but I highly doubt that if you have dementia this bad that you're just by yourself. I don't know. And then there's also Chris, who is also pointless. Chris is like the guy they meet, and he like starts flirting with Logan's mom, which Logan doesn't like because his dad just died like 2 fucking weeks ago. So obviously he doesn't like Chris. Chris says this.
It's good to see some new faces, especially pretty ones. I just mean the mountain folk can get a little scruffy at times, and I am not talking about the men.
Which is just weird. So eventually Chris is like checking up on them, and he's like, I want to stay over, someone just broke into your house, whatever, the cops didn't do anything. So it's also shown that they show Chris's boots. They make sure to show Chris's boots, because early in the movie, when the killer like breaks into the house, they show his boots, and that's the only thing we know about this killer is that he has fucking huge ass boots. Look at these fucking things. How do you not hear this fucker walking around? And even if he wanted to kill you, he doesn't, because he just fucks with you. That's also my theory. I'm getting in so many tangents just talking about this. But my theory is that he doesn't want to kill people. He just has to kill people because they find him, and he just wants roommates, and he just wants to fuck with people. Because all he does in the first hour and a half of this is just unplug Logan's phone, take his phone down to the fucking basement, takes pictures of Naomi, who is the mom, who I haven't mentioned, and just, like, turns the water heater down, or turns the water down, or fucking whatever, while they're taking showers. So that's my headcanon. But back to the point I was saying, as this has become an unfiltered ramble, is that it shows Chris's boots, which I was like, okay, maybe you revealed that too early, but Chris being the killer would be interesting. It'd be fucking something. But then, no, Chris dies 2 seconds later, so his presence was pointless. His presence was there just to die. And I go back and forth on this, and I'm like, okay, if you explain it, maybe it's not scary enough. Maybe if it's just a random killer, he's just killing you randomly, whatever, that's kind of scarier. But in this, it's just so dumb because they don't explain nothing. At the beginning, I believe they almost hit him with the car. Maybe that's what it's trying to say. I don't know. But he just disappears. Because if you see him run, the dude is like 6'4". Look at him. So, I don't know. It was really stupid. And it wasn't that funny. Me explaining it was probably funnier than the movie. You know, with these bad horror movies, you're like, oh, that was kind of funny. This is just absolutely painful. Sitting an hour and 40 minutes through this was awful, and I hope they get better from here.
We are being chased by ravenous freaks. We don't have enough problems.
Finally, a movie that is not terrible. Zombieland is a horror comedy with, you guessed it, zombies. The jokes are funny, the acting is good, the plot isn't totally stupid. I mean, it kind of gets dumb towards the end, but I can kind of excuse that. Each character has their own goals at the beginning of the movie. They all want to go to different places, but they all grow together in this hellhole they call Zombieland. And it's really a refreshing zombie story to not see stupid, melodramatic bullshit, basically. Woody Harrelson is honestly great in this movie. Early in the film, he whenever he meets Jesse Eisenberg, he mentions that he has a dog that died, and that's why he's just angry with the zombies and kills them. And honestly, great ways. There's great kills in this movie. But later in the movie, it's called back to, and it's revealed that it wasn't a dog, but his son, which isn't like the biggest twist where it changes the whole movie, but it's just a good character thing that makes these people grow together, and I really liked it. The only problem I have is towards the end, the two girls, their whole goal pretty much in the movie is to get to this theme park, and they finally get to the theme park, and they get themselves trapped on this ride. I don't know what it's, the up and down one, that one that drops you. The drop tower, I guess, is what it's called. But I feel like they're just too smart to do that. I mean, you could just, like, cop that up to them going back to their childhood or whatever. But overall, I think it's a great experience, and that's kind of all I have to say. It was pretty good. I liked it, and let's just move on.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Scary Movie is kind of funny. We have our second comedy in this marathon. The jokes nowadays could be a little dicey in some spots, but overall, I thought it was very funny. It's kind of hard to go more in depth than that because this is a parody of the first Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, so the plot points are basically the same between those two movies. They make jokes. I mean, if you don't like that, if you don't like the parody movies, I don't think this is going to be for you, but I think this one is at least deserving of a watch. I mean, it's pretty funny. I thought the only thing I really wish is it was more original because it does follow those two movies down to the T. You know, the major plot points in there are all in this movie. So that's the only thing I really wish is that it went more original. But it is what it is, and it was pretty good. I know what they wanted to do was parody this movie, was to parody both of those movies. So that isn't really that big of a complaint. But the jokes made me laugh. Maybe I'll supercut some of them that were kind of funny that won't get me deleted off the internet. So it was pretty good. I liked it. And again, let's just continue.
Don't look back! I look back!
Next up, we have Monster House, which is a classic of my childhood. I watched this almost every Halloween, so I knew I wanted to put this on here, and rewatching it, it was okay. But good God, look at this animation. It is pure nightmare fuel. Again, just like with Scary Movie and Zombieland, the jokes hit for me. I don't remember a joke that didn't land. Overall, great experience. The idea is pretty cool. It doesn't make sense how his wife fell into the house. I guess her ghost, possessed the house. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It fucking looks cool, and that's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be a fucking psychological horror. It just needs to be funny and a little spooky. So it was pretty good, and that's kind of it.
What's up? Where's Mom?
I don't think she's feeling good.
We are officially a week into this marathon, so I treat myself with Lights Out. No, not the short on YouTube, but in fact, the movie. Trying to make a 3-minute short into a full-length movie seems like it would be a little hard, so did they pull this off? Well, yes and no. There's some good scares in here. I do have to admit, there's some good ones. The one with the red sign in the bedroom really stands out to me as being the best one. Everything else is kind of whatever. The blue light scene is all right, even though it's a little drawn out towards the end. I'm like, let's wrap this up, whatever. And this is another one where I float back and forth whether I like if they explained things or not. I think they explained too much about this monster lady girl, whatever. I think the scariest part about the short is that you don't really know what's happening, so it's just kind of spookier. I don't know. I do go back and forth on this all the time, but I just don't think making a 3-minute short film into a full-length movie fits this plot. I mean, it's whatever. I don't really remember much. It's not that memorable. The good jump scares I liked in here. So I don't usually like the jump scares, but I thought there were some good ones in here. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It was all right. Nothing special. Let's continue. The Rental is one of those movies where you love it or you just don't care about it, and I do not care about it. Two of the characters just happen to be in 2 TV shows that I really like, being Jeremy Allen White and Alison Brie, and those are the best 2 parts of this movie, and the other 2 completely suck, and I hate them, and it's all their fault that all this bad stuff is happening to them. Basically, it's one of those, creepy movies where there's, cameras watching them or whatever, and, this B&B. So, I guess if that scares you, then I guess this movie will scare you. There's not really much else that happens other than them talking and, some killer stuff at the end. But other than that, I don't really remember anything. I feel like the best shots in this movie come at the end credits, where this montage is playing. That's kind of cool. Whatever. And this is another one where it just doesn't explain anything. I guess it's a random killer. I don't know. When they get to the B&B, the brother of the guy who owns the building is like, yeah, my brother owns this. I just fucking fix things. And because there's some race shit that goes in here, which is alright, if it matters. But in this, it just shows up twice in the movie, and then it doesn't happen again. It's not talked about, so it's kind of pointless. It's just kind of thrown in there, and it's whatever, who cares. The kills, I can't even say the kills are any good, because I literally don't remember them. I think most of them are off screen, and if they do show it, it's not very, very long, and it's just a stab or a hammer hit to the head. The ending is kind of funny. whenever like the killer is chasing this girl that I absolutely hate and literally just wanted her to die so the movie would end, she just runs the fuck off this cliff, which is kind of funny. So, I mean, that was kind of the only enjoyable part to me outside of the end credits and Jeremy Allen White and Alison Brie. So it was just kind of whatever. And let's just keep chugging along. So most of these movies I have seen before, but it was either once or it haven't been in a very long time. However, Train to Busan is the only one that I come back to regularly. It's just such a cool idea. Zombies on a train, a moving train. You know, once you're there, you can't really get off of it. And you know, these guys aren't Romero-style zombies. These are fast sons of bitches. These guys fucking move. The movie manages to terrify me, but also make me feel emotions that I haven't seen in a zombie movie before. Sorry, I'm a dumb American, so I can't really pronounce these names, but when this guy and his wife, they're having a baby early on in the movie, it's introduced, and they don't have a name for him at the beginning, but once he gets bit trying to hold back these zombies from the other ones, he yells out what he wants the name to be, and that shit hits me in all of the feels. This movie is great, and honestly, won't spoil it any much than I already did. I kind of spoiled it there, but that wasn't big because that happens kind of towards the middle. But it's a great movie and easily one of the best of this marathon so far. So if you haven't seen Train to Busan, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Just go watch it.
Can you still play video games?
No, man, unfortunately I can't. So I just have sex with adult women to fill the time.
Escape Room is Saw, but for children. It's basically what this is. This movie starts, and it does something that I absolutely hate, and it's that the movie starts towards the end, which it happens in Friend Request, but I kind of can forgive it in Friend Request because it like starts before all the bullshit happens, so you don't really know what the rest of the movie is going to be. So I guess it's kind of even more pointless there. But in this, it shows the guy who lives and survives all of the rooms, and it's at the end, and you don't see any of the other characters, so once the movie starts, you're like, oh, well, that guy can't die until we see that scene, so there's no fear for this guy's life if you gave a shit about these characters. I really didn't. They were kind of whatever. The only one I kind of liked was this nerd guy, I guess it was what he was trying to be. He's like the escape room genius. He was kind of funny, but he dies first. And everyone else I kind of don't care about. Are the traps good? I guess. I mean, I really liked this one upside down. It was like a really interesting idea. That was the only one that I kind of was like, wow, that's really cool. Everything else was just like, whatever. So, Tyler, you said this was a Saw, but for kids. So, are the kills any good? Well, most of them happen off of screen, and most of them are just people falling down. And so that was whatever. There's some interesting character points in this. The one guy, this guy, don't remember his name, but they all are basically there because they survived something, and they're like the only survivors of whatever. So the people who make the escape rooms want to see like the highest survivability of people. I don't know. But so they get this guy who says he's like survived. Him and his friend went on the ocean and they just like got stuck there and he like swam away, which is a stupid story and no one should believe that, but they do believe that. And there's like a couple hints towards what really happened. I really like the way that he looked at this person. Don't remember who it was, but they had the one jacket and the cold spot, and he's like looking at him all like murdery. So that was pretty interesting. And then they kind of spill it out at the end where the guy is basically just telling the camera what happened, and I'm like, come on, movie, we could figure that one out. But that's basically Escape Room. I gave up writing notes on this movie because I was just like bored. There was nothing really interesting happening, and I didn't really care about the characters, so I kind of just gave up. So, another whatever movie.
Exactly. But my father plans to leave it all to his new wife, Hina.
So up next we have Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo, which may be my favorite Scooby-Doo story. The gang basically like fights the lady who like makes all the masks or whatever for the villains that they fight, so that they capture her, and the whole movie they're like out of mysteries to solve. And Fred is a broken man because of it, and is just hoping that someone dresses up like a ghost and just terrorizes a town so they can solve the mystery. And that was pretty funny. The animation is also very good. And at the beginning, it says Matthew Lillard is Shaggy in this, but like the first couple lines he says, I was like, holy shit, this guy needs to stop doing Shaggy because it's killing his voice, and the world needs more Matthew Lillard. Other than that, it was a pretty fun special. I really liked the animation. It was an interesting idea, and it was pretty good. And that's kind of it. That's all I have to say about this one.
Actually gonna call me a narcissist? Or a foot soldier of, like, the white supremacy? Like...
So the best part about this movie is Pete Davidson. Usually, when a movie has, like, a comedian in it, they're not really that funny because the writers don't know how to write for a comedian, and usually they have to do some, like, improv, and it's not very good. But Pete is the best part of this. He's great in this. Too bad he dies at the beginning, and he's not in the rest of it. So, what else happens in the movie? Well, the lighting is good. I like that. There's some scenes where we're in a hurricane. I guess in places where there's the hurricanes, they have hurricane parties. That's what this is. So there's a hurricane going outside. The power goes out, and they have to light themselves with like phones and glow sticks and other things. And it looks pretty cool. It's interesting. It's not the same, schlock that goes on where everything is fucking dark, so you can kind of see. The acting is alright. I do like these characters at the beginning, and then they all just get really shitty. And yes, I get in real life people could be like this, where they're like, oh, everyone's dying, there's a killer outside, whatever, let's just be really shitty people. But then the Gen Z slang started coming out, and I absolutely hate that I'm a part of this Gen Z, because all of the words that us young folks say are ridiculous. The twist at the end is alright. It's not really groundbreaking stuff. There's not like a big, holy shit, I'm gonna shit my pants because of what I just witnessed. It's pretty good. It turns out nobody was the killer, and they all just killed themselves. Except the main character, who definitely killed one guy and maybe killed another girl. Oops. It was a cool idea. The lighting was good. Pete Davidson is great. So it was okay. And that's it. So I'm going to get my bias out of the way for this one. This is probably my favorite zombie movie of all time. Now, is that saying that it is a perfect movie or it is the greatest zombie movie of all time? No, I don't think so. I think there's movies that are probably better than this. But everything is fucking fantastic in this. The whole cast is great. They pull off all of the comedic moments. And also, when it slows down and gets to the emotional bits of a zombie movie has to have, they pull that off too. My favorite part in the whole movie has to be these two opening shots. Towards the beginning of the movie, Shaun is like going through his life, and he's basically a metaphor for a zombie because he's doing all this shit, doing the same thing every day. So we open with Shaun going through the store, and he's getting his milk and shit, whatever, and he comes back. But then when the zombies happen, we do that exact same one take, which is great, and Shaun is so oblivious to what is going on and in that zombie state that he doesn't realize the real zombies around him, which is funny, and I think it is pretty good and interesting. The ending is also really funny. I really liked it. All of the jokes hit, and if you haven't seen it, you're, again, doing yourself one huge disservice.
Okay? I'm gonna tell you this. I think that mom is putting everybody in a trance and she fucking the shit out of them.
Thanks, Rod. Bye.
So maybe now we're heating up. Jordan Peele's debut film, Get Out. You know, me knowing Jordan Peele from the sketch comedy show Key and Peele, I didn't expect him to pull this off when I found out that this is what he was doing next. But I think he did a great job. I love the subtle things in here. I love the performances in this. I think Rod is really funny. I think the family does a great job of being weird and scary. And I think everyone in general just does a great job. I love the subtle things that are in here. The way that Rose defends Chris from the cops in the beginning. Not because she wants to defend him and because she loves him. But because she's not letting the cops know where he is just a great detail. Don't know if that was intended, but that's what I got out of it. And I think the race stuff in here is good for this movie. Most of the time I don't like when movies get too political, whatever. I don't think it's really needed. But this, I feel like it is needed because it is the main theme of this movie is the race stuff. And I really liked it. So I thought the camera work was great. I thought the acting was great. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that if this isn't the best movie on the list so far, that it's definitely up there.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sergio. This is my roommate Brad.
Yo!
And we have reason to believe there's a ghost in this house.
So this is one of the movies that I've never heard of before this marathon. And this movie is very horny. It's kind of a play on like Paranormal Activity where it's found footage. I thought the jokes were really funny in this, and surprisingly that this was one of the funnier ones on the horror comedy side that I've watched so far. And I really liked it. It was weird because I don't really like found footage movies. I think they're very boring outside of a couple like The Blair Witch or Wreck. I think are very interesting. But like the Paranormal Activity movies I hate because they're so boring. But this just wasn't that, and I was really surprised, and I found it really good. Until the end, the effects get really wonky at the end, which unintentionally makes it funnier than if it was good effects. I'll show some here a little bit because it's some sketch towards the end. But they get really wonky, and the ending is great for these two characters, and I really liked it. And yeah, it was pretty good.
Eddie was nearly killed! And look at this motherfucker! He's leaking hamburger helper!
So I went back and forth on if this movie should count as 1 or 2, but in the end I decided to split them in 2, and if that's the wrong decision, then I'm sorry, comments section. I don't know if anyone's even gotten this far in the fucking video, so we're just gonna keep chugging along. It Chapter 1 is still a good adaptation of the classic Stephen King novel without the shitty adult part. I absolutely hate that part in the miniseries, and it's really bad. It's so boring. The kids in here are great though. Loved the kids, loved all the casting choices of the kids. They talk like kids, they act like kids. It seems like the people who wrote this were a kid at one point, so that's really refreshing to not see shitty kid dialogue. Bill Skarsgård is fantastic as Pennywise. When did they let him be scary? That's my main thing about both of these movies, is that they don't let Bill Skarsgård do his thing as Pennywise. They do the shitty CG when he does the running at the kids. The opening scene basically sums this point up. The opening scene to this movie is the Georgie scene, and pretty much everyone who's watching this movie knows what's going to happen. If you've read the book, if you're a fan of the miniseries, if you're a fan of Stephen King in general, you know what's going to take place. And I feel like they changed it up just enough from the miniseries to be more scary, because they let Bill like organically build up the creepiness. They let him do his weird eye shit that's creepy, and if you're paying attention, you know exactly how he's doing this. And then the shittiness of the CG comes out, and all of the other scares. They don't let him do this in the rest of the movie at all. And it's even worse in Chapter 2, but we'll talk about that later. Secondly, 2.5 hours is a long fucking time for a horror movie. And this isn't both parts. This is just chapter 1, which is very long. I think the miniseries is like 3 hours, and that's both parts. So it's very long. The tone is just all over the place. There'll be like super scariness. There'll be scary, and then we'll have a cleanup montage with just happy music right next to the fucking scariness. So that's kind of jarring. Overall, I thought It Chapter 1 was a good movie. You could cut some of this out, maybe an hour 45, and I think it still hold up well. So I really liked it. And on to It Chapter 2.
Wow. You two look amazing. What the fuck happened to me?
So It Chapter 2 is one of my least favorites on the list so far. It's 3 hours long for a horror movie about a killer clown monster thing. And it's also a Stephen King thing. So that means the ending is gonna suck. They make jokes throughout the movie that Bill, who is supposed to be like a Stephen King standee, that his endings suck in his books. They keep making that joke, but that doesn't make it any better when the ending disappoints you again. The reason that the first one, in my opinion, and the kid stuff is scarier is because for some reason our dumb adult brains find children being attacked more important. And so all of the stuff with the adults are kind of boring, especially in a 3-hour movie when they just kind of throw shit against the wall. So much stuff happens in this film, and I just can't believe that they let them make this 3-hour fucking... I keep bringing up that it's 3 hours, but there's so much stuff in this that can be cut. There's so many flashbacks in this. We get a flashback for each character except Mike, because Mike is fucking worthless. That's a whole different rant. But this rant is... This could easily be 2. This could easily be an hour 45. You cut all the pointless bullshit. You just have the scariness. I know movies don't have to be just all scary, but this is supposed to wrap up an already existing movie. So we already know what's going to happen. Not much can change. This is an adaptation of a book. So just do that. Be scary. They don't let Bill be scary in this again. It's an hour longer, so you expect Bill to be more present in the movie, but they just do this stupid CG bullshit. He makes this funny face, which is so funny, it just takes me out of the movie. And even, like, the rest of the scares, he's not even there. The flashbacks, he's not there. And I'm just like, let this man act. Again, just like in the opening scene of the first movie, they give him this one scene with this little girl, and I'm like, why don't they let him do that more? Because it's fucking creepy. Because he's a fucking clown. Like, let the man be scary. And also, with Mike, I mentioned this rant before, but in the first movie, they give all the history stuff to Ben. So Mike has nothing to do in that first movie. So in turn, they try to do the same as the book, where Mike is the librarian, Mike is the one that stays, but it doesn't make sense for Mike to be the librarian in this, because he's not the history guy. He doesn't care about Derry. He's the one who wants to leave in the first place. So why not change that to Ben? It's just a small change. Just keep Mike as the fucking architect or whatever. Why make that change in the first movie and not, like, keep up on it? I just thought that was weird. So Mike literally has nothing to do in both movies besides be fucking odd. So everything in this is just, it's 3 hours long. It's long. It's long. We don't need flashbacks for every fucking character. We get it. And at the end, they literally bully Pennywise to death. After 5.5 hours combined of both movies, they kill him by bullying him to death. That's not a joke. That's the actual movie. So this one was kind of bad. So after that stinker, I had to watch something that wasn't awful. So I landed on Spookly the Pumpkin. The animation is alright, and the message is okay. Don't let like the oppression of Spookly affect you, though. I'm not gonna elaborate on that at all. But I guess if you're under 7, it's okay. The songs are they're listenable in this, and that's pretty much it.
Was that the bite of 87?
So The Hug is a 5-minute short film about this motherfucker who looks scary. And I don't care what anyone fucking says. These animatronics in like Chuck E. Cheese, I'd shit my pants going up to them. I would not go into Chuck E. Cheese and be like, I'm gonna go fucking come up to this guy. But is it good? I thought so. I thought the premise was creepy enough. I'm glad they left it where it was. They didn't extend it like Lights Out. It didn't need to be extended. It was 5 minutes. It was pretty fun. And if this is cheating, then I'm sorry. But it was pretty good. So, when I was told about this movie, I was told that it is a horror comedy with zombies in it. So I was like, oh, it would be like Shaun of the Dead. However, it is not. I was an hour in, and I was like, when are the zombies coming? Also, when is the comedy starting? Because towards this point, the only thing that's been funny is nothing. And the only zombies that we've seen are these two. So it's like, what are we doing here? And there's like some heavy hitters in this movie. Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Austin Butler, Selena Gomez for some reason. Which, Selena Gomez is the best part of this movie. And that's not saying much, because the main problem with the movie is that there's so many characters that you just can't keep up with any of them. There are 13 named characters in the credits that it has to jump around to, and it's kind of like, it's an interesting idea where it follows these different groups of people during this apocalypse, but nothing in here is funny enough, and they don't get enough screen time for me to care about them. Selena Gomez, which I said before, is the best part of this movie, and she maybe gets 5 minutes of screen time. And there's still at least 10 other people that are fighting for it. It's just dull, and it's 2 hours, and it's just not that good.
Oh, hey, you okay?
Oh, some damn enchiladas.
So you may be thinking, why choose the 5th movie in a franchise that has way better movies in it? Because fuck you, this is my show. This movie is very horny, just like Ghost Team 1, but it's like, it's a porno. It's a porno that I'm watching. There is so many long shots of just naked people, and I'm like, this can't be necessary. Like, what are we doing? There's a shot in the woods where these people have sex, and the lady is just laying there, just totally naked, and I'm like, what are we doing here? There's some good kills in here. It's not a Friday the 13th movie without good kills, unless you're Friday the 13th. The first one, which doesn't have good kills, so the kills are good. These two are probably the funniest characters I've seen in any horror movie from the 80s. Like, this kid has the funniest scream that I've ever heard. And his brother is even funnier. Just listen to this.
Oh, hey, you okay?
Oh, some damn enchiladas.
That was funny. He also dies in that toilet, so... Oops. The best kill I remember is this one with the tree. It's pretty brutal. I liked it. And also the twist at the end is really stupid. It's not Jason, because they tried to kill Jason in the last movie in 4, but they were like, shit, we don't have a movie without a killer guy, so we'll just make this guy the killer, who's Roy. And you may be thinking, why is that a stupid twist? Well, it's because Roy gets 2 lines of dialogue throughout the whole movie, and he disappears 40 minutes in. So it's like, it's not even like a good twist, because his mask just pops up, and I was like, who the fuck is that guy? And then they're like, oh, it's Roy. I was like, who the fuck is Roy? So it's not very good, but it's also not terrible. So now we have to talk about a good Bill Murray movie. And you honestly can't talk about this movie without talking about the kick-ass theme song. This shit had me dancing at 6:30 in the fucking morning. It's so good. It's great. And yeah, Ghostbusters is a classic, and you should watch it all the time. The jokes are kind of funny. Winston is still kind of pointless, which I will agree with. He kind of just joins in the middle. He has some funny things to say, but not much else. And the only reason I mention Winston is because the actor who plays Winston also appears in this shitty teen sitcom that I've watched, and it's really funny, and I'm really surprised that he's there for some reason, and that's the only reason I think of Winston. And also something that just deleted from my brain is this. And this happening in a kids movie is fucking unbelievable. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty good, and you should watch it all the time.
Stay away from me, Homer!
Give me the bat, Marge!
So the Treehouse of Horror specials are another key piece to my childhood. I remember this one being my favorite in general, so I wanted to see if it held up, and it kind of does. The Shining one is still pretty funny, and I really liked it, because The Shining is one of my favorite horror movies. Psychological bullshit, whatever. But the other ones are just kind of whatever. The Willy joke is like the only one that I kind of remembered. And the time travel stuff in the second one is kind of funny. This last one is just nightmare fuel, because Principal Skinner eats the kids. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not as good as I remembered it. I was also debating to even include this one because it's kind of a lie. It's not about Halloween, like, at all. How could I make that mistake? Well, is it good? I mean, it's alright. The animation is pretty good. It's Disney, it's Toy Story. So, yeah, I would be surprised if it wasn't good. And the message overall, I think, was fine. Don't be scared of shit. Blah, blah, blah. Face your fears. Whatever. But they changed this Toy Story lore for this. Jessie is, like, scared of boxes, which makes sense because she was left in a box in Toy Story 2. But I was like, I don't remember her being scared of boxes, because don't they get in a box to go to the playground, whatever, in Toy Story 3? So I looked, and yes, they do get in a box, and it's not mentioned that she is scared of boxes. So they ruined the Toy Story lore. 0 out of 10. Get this the fuck out of here. So I guess if this was the Christmas video, we would be done now. But we have to keep going. Trick or Treat is another Disney animated short. This one's only 10 minutes, so there's not much to talk about here. The only things that are needed to talk about is the animation looks pretty good for being a 50s movie, and the slapstick is kind of funny, and that is about it. So that's awkward.
Alright, listen up, bitches. Everybody block Ma for good.
Ma is the definition of a whatever movie. There's not much good, and there's not much bad. It's just kind of a movie. This movie gets very weird at the end. I could play a couple clips here and just not explain it because that's just funnier that way. Because honestly, I don't know what the fuck is going on here either. There's also like a Gypsy Rose plotline in here for some reason, where Ma's daughter is told that she's sick and has to be in a wheelchair. they don't really elaborate on that either. But other than those two things, nothing really memorable happens. I mean, Octavia Spencer is definitely the best part of this movie. And, you know, she seems like she's just having fun, which is okay. Because it didn't need to be like fucking Citizen Kane. But it's just kind of, it's just kind of whatever. So, that's the review.
Out of the marsh arose a horrible swamp man.
So I definitely see at the end of this list, I kind of gave up a little bit on some of these days. So I just started watching shorts. But this is another Disney short. And this list is just going downhill. I don't actually know the title of this movie because I wrote it down in my notes as Mickey Scary. Because the title I remember being very long, and that's kind of all I remembered from it. But the animation looks very good. I really like this animation style of Mickey. Don't know if this is how they do it in the newer cartoons, but it looks pretty good. I liked it. Also, this is another anthology, just like the Treehouse of Horrors, but for babies. It looks really nice. The last story is really good. I really liked it. So that's pretty much it. And hopefully we watch an actual movie here soon. Not foreshadowing at all. So remember in the last review when I said maybe we'll watch a movie soon? I lied. We're watching frankenweenie, 1984, the original. And I just like the feel and look of this movie. The choice to go back to black and white really helps here. The story is about Victor, a young boy, bringing his dog back to life after tragically being hit by a car. And then the people hate him because it's a zombie dog. That's kind of scary. And so the dog runs off into this like golf course, and it catches on fire, and Victor runs into the fire, and then the dog saves Victor from the fire, and then dies again? Which is like weird. But they bring it back to life, and then dog romance. So, interesting idea. Really liked it. Let's move on.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
So I also decided you can't have a horror movie marathon without this masterpiece. This movie is fantastic. The first 30 are a little slow, I thought. I mean, I think you could speed it up just a little bit. But honestly, hearing that she stole $40,000 for a whole-ass house is crazy to hear in today's times, because $40,000 probably won't get you a fucking Happy Meal at McDonald's in a couple years. But this did take place in the 60s, which was 60 years ago, which is absolute crazy. But none of that is the problem, because that's just my stupid brain being stupid. But once we get to the Bates Motel and meeting Norman Bates, does this movie finally begin? Anthony Perkins is fantastic in this. He probably gives the best performance in any horror movie that I've ever seen. He's just fantastic. He somehow manages to be terrifying, but also weird and like sympathetic at the same time. His monologue towards the middle with Marion Crane goes on for a good decent chunk. Not too long, but also not too short, where it's mostly just him talking, but it doesn't get boring, and it still keeps me engaged, and it's just him chewing the fucking scenery. I knew the ending going in, but my heart was still fucking racing, because it's just so captivating, and it's so interesting, and I just loved it. I loved every second of it. The ending is kind of long, though. You don't really need the explanation of what Norman is feeling. You can kind of just cut that out, or maybe make it shorter. The look that Norman gives at the end is fucking fantastic, though. And the only problem is that with Robogast, whenever he dies and he falls down the stairs, it looks really goofy. But everything else, the acting, the camera work, they somehow made the lighting look cool in a fucking black and white movie in some shots, which is just fantastic. So yeah, this movie is great. This was one that I knew I wanted to watch during this marathon because it was such an interesting idea to me, having a horror movie based in the MCU, but I didn't really care for it. I do like the black and white, and even the lighting and the colors, just like in Psycho, look good. but there's shots of red that look really good in this. I really thought the makeup and the monsters looked all right. There's some wonkiness. I have to admit in here. But for the most part, everything is fine. It's just kind of whatever. I expected more out of this story. But I mean, it delivered on what it wanted to do. Have werewolves. So yeah, it was alright.
4 days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. In 4 days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
This was also another one that was planned at the beginning of this. Halloween 3. One of my favorites in the series just because of how fucking goofy it is. It's so bizarre that in a franchise that we're 3 movies into changes the formula so drastically. I know back in the day John Carpenter wanted Halloween to sort of be an anthology, but with the success of the first Halloween, the studio wanted to bring Michael Myers back in the second one, and John Carpenter was like, okay, we're only doing this if he dies at the end. So that's why in Halloween 2 he dies. And then he made Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which everyone fucking hated because it had nothing to do with the other 2. But I really like that idea. I think you could execute this a little bit better, but it's just kind of a silly, goofy Halloween story. This doesn't need to be, again, Citizen Kane. It just needs to do its job, and I think it does its job really nice. It's really stupid and wacky. A guy fucking steals Stonehenge. Just, how? Why? Fuck it, whatever, who cares? That's just a funny idea. There's nothing really wrong with this movie. There is a couple shots in it where I'm like, we could speed this up. There is a lot of fucking running in here. Like, there's so many scenes of people just running way the fuck over there, and it just shows the whole thing. And I'm like, we could cut this. We don't need to see them all running. But it shows us. And another weird thing that happens is that the 2 that go to investigate this man's death at this toy factory, they just have sex, like in the middle of it, while they're investigating her father's death, which is an interesting choice, I might add. But other than that, I really liked it. This fucking song is so catchy, and even if it is just like not a full song, it's still so fucking memorable, and I absolutely love Halloween 3, and I hate that Halloween took a sharp decline after this shit. So yeah, that's Halloween 3. It's pretty fun. So that was all of the reviews. So now I guess it's time to rank them. And I'm just going to rattle these off very quickly. So just pay attention. Toy Story of Terror, The Open House, Friend Request, The Dead Don't Die, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Spookly the Square Pumpkin, It Chapter 2, The Rental, Escape Room, Lights Out, Trick or Treat, Bodies, 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 Ma, Friday the 13th, Part 5, Halloween 3, Werewolf by Night, The Hug, frankenweenie, Monster House, Ghost Team 1, Scary Movie, The Scariest Stories Ever, A Mickey Mouse Halloween Spectacular, Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo, Treehouse of Horror 5, Zombieland, It Chapter 1, Ghostbusters, Shaun of the Dead, Train to Busan, Get Out, and for our number 1 ranking, can we get a drum roll? It's Psycho. It was always Psycho. And that officially marks the end of the Tyler Wayne Halloween special in 2023. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I guarantee about 1 person will make it to the end. So thank you for watching, and that's kind of all I have to say.